Hello and welcome to the 3 a.m. podcast where all we talk about is the shit you probably only think about when you're taking a really long shower or your phone's dead. My name's Dillon and I'll be your host. With me today are my two good friends, Kaiden and Kaylee. Hi guys!
Hi!
Do you guys know what we're talking about today?
LGBTQ plus stuff and gender.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say, yeah. Gender and sexuality and all that fun stuff. All the uniqueness that I love about it. I'll start with saying, I love people who I find are very, very unique. And some of the most unique individuals I've become friends with are part of the LGBTQ community. So, of course, I have a great love for all those people because I have so many friends that are a part of it, and I love all of them. My gender, I would say, is this is so hard for me because it pisses me off sometimes. I was born a male. I use male pronouns. Do I want to be associated with everything that males do? Absolutely not. I don't want someone to look at me and be like, oh, he's a white cisgendered male. Because that would just piss me off. As far as I'm concerned, my gender, my identity is me. Is Dillon. That's me. That's my name. That's who I am. So it was good to get that out of the way. So that's what I prefer. Yes, male pronouns. But I don't want someone to put me into all these stereotypes because of the way I look, the way I dress, the way I present myself. Because I've met so many different unique people that all identify as something different. And I would never, ever want to put them into a single category, to pigeonhole them into one thing. I think that's the right terminology and the right, yeah. As far as my sexuality goes, my sexual orientation, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. I mean, I think I can fall in love with whoever I fall in love with. I've found that I find myself more sexually attracted to the opposite gender, but I'm not closing off the opportunity or idea that someone could come into my life and I just connect with them and I vibe with them and it works really well. I wouldn't close the door on that. If I started developing feelings, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not gay. I can't be like that, you know? Yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty fluid about it. You know, it's whoever I'm gonna love. So I think people call that
pansexual.
Yeah, pansexual. That's the one. But I also don't like labeling shit. But that's just me. If someone was like, "Oh, so you're pansexual," I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, I guess." That's fine. I'm just gonna love. If you want to label things, that's fine. I'm just gonna love who I want to. Free love, baby. So that's me. One of you guys can go.
I would say, well, first off, I'm trans. I use the term transmasculine. For the most part, go by they, them, sometimes he. And for sexuality, I would say queer. I guess it could be pansexual. I like the term queer more. It's just more like a general term. But yeah, I would say I'm usually mostly attracted to women or non-binary people. But, I'm not the same thing. I'm not going to close the door on anything just to, keep my mind open.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little more about what transmasculine is?
Yeah. There's a lot of terms that people go by now instead of just transgender. I like transmasculine. It's more neutral. It's closer to non-binary than it is to transgender. So a lot of transgender people go say female to male or male to female. I was born female. I would say I'm more in the closer to non-binary, but not totally, I guess.
More masculine.
Yeah, I mean, masculine. I present as masculine, but I like to use they, them. It just depends on the day, I guess. where I fall.
Real neutral.
Yeah.
Hi, Kaylee.
Hi. I'm cisgender. I was born female and I'm really comfortable and secure in that. I go by she, her. And for my sexuality, I'd also say pansexual. I'd say I'm more attracted to women, but again, I just don't want to put a box on it. I've formed connections with all types of people, and I don't see myself like shutting it off just because of their gender, how they present. So I'd say pansexual.
Yeah. I think that also comes with a lot of our generation. I think a lot of people do things because it's trendy. They don't think through it a lot, but I trust all of us here, and I know that we're pretty comfortable with ourselves. We aren't. It's just something that I've found is a lot of people are like, yeah, it's whatever. Like, we're really more relaxed about things. We're not super defensive about a lot of stuff. But if someone was to come up to me and call me like her or she, I'd be like, well, that's kind of weird. One, I don't present myself that way. I would say I look pretty masculine. I would say I talk pretty masculine. I carry myself pretty masculine. That doesn't mean I'm going around being like, I'm the big manly man here. I'm a big burly guy. I can't help it. I'm a big burly hairy man. So yeah, it would definitely take me off guard. I wouldn't be like, the fuck, I'm not a girl, what are you talking? I would be like, okay, I go by he, him, and if they keep doing it, I'd be like, this is weird. I honestly don't know how I would respond to it, because it would just be so foreign to me. I don't think it would offend me, personally. It would just really, really take me off guard. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, it's something that's way more common nowadays. Like, I know a lot of people that are, non-binary, gender fluid, pansexual / queer, whatever you want to call it, just really open to a lot of things. And a lot of us, so me and Kaiden were born 1998. Yeah. Kaylee was born 99. Baby. So, like, we're still really young. We're still young. So it's fine with how young we are. It's like, so many adults are like, you have to have so much figured out at a certain point. And I've come to the realization that older people are full of shit. And they don't even have shit figured out. They're just pretending like they do. So yeah, I don't have to have everything figured out now. I'm still learning a bunch of stuff about myself. I would say I'm pretty in tune with myself. I'm really comfortable with the way I am. It trust me, takes a long ass time and different times. Some people are never comfortable with themselves. Some people never know how to fix it or like why they aren't comfortable with themselves. Everyone's moving at different speeds, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just really lucky that I did figure out so much about myself to be comfortable with who I am. It's to the point to where, like, I'm pretty open about a lot of stuff. I'm really free at things, but everything's at my own speed, like my own pace. I'm never going to want to be rushed into anything or have someone force anything onto me, That's how I feel about that, about certain stuff. Like, I think it's super important to have a good understanding about yourself when it comes to who you are, your own personal identity, because, like, that's really important. I know some people that are pretty sad because they're like, I just don't know, man. I don't feel like I know myself. And it's like, that's really heavy. That's one of the heaviest things that someone's ever talked to me about, is that they were like, I'm 23, man, and I don't feel like I know myself at all. And I was just, big oof moment, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know really how to, like, give them advice or help them in any way, because the way I figured stuff out was all on my own, Yeah, people influenced me in certain ways. Like, I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for everyone around me.
Yeah.
It was really eye-opening for me to hear that from someone who was older than me. And be like, wow, I am probably more in tune with myself than this person who's 2 years older than me. Which I thought was kind of crazy. And it hit me, like, I totally came to the realization that everyone's moving at different speeds. Everyone's figuring stuff out differently and at different times. I don't think if it wasn't for Kaiden, I don't think I'd figure out bunch of the stuff about myself now. Like, you can talk a little bit about you coming out as trans, Kaiden.
Yeah. I think it was, had to have been freshman year of college, I think.
2017, just towards the end.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, that's end of 2017 is when I came out. I mean, like a year prior to that, give or take,
Mm-hmm.
is when I like started discovering myself. And it was like the first night that I thought it was a possibility, I like told a friend that I had, they were just like, yeah, I mean, I was like terrified, scared, because I didn't know what people would think. So I like told them. They were like, well, I mean, if you're so scared and like, you know, of what people will think and like just all of this stuff, you probably aren't. I was like, okay, well, all right. And then I just like suppressed that for a while, and you know, a year or so later, I had a friend who's trans, so I came out to them, and I mean, that was obviously fine because they're trans. And then came out to Dillon, and I mean, that was fine.
I would hope so. You're on my podcast, you know.
Yeah. And then just like slowly, I think almost all of the people that I came out to first were friends. It's just a little easier, I guess. You know, the people that you're closest to are the hardest to come out to because you have the most to lose if it does go wrong. Thankfully, with my experience, I mean, pretty much every person that I've come out to, it's been a good experience, give or take. My dad's a little iffy on it, but I mean, and stepmom, but like she doesn't even know, so that doesn't matter. I mean, like other than that, you know, everything's fine and good, which, you know, I'm grateful for. A lot of people don't have it that easy. I'm just one of the lucky ones that did.
When Kaiden told me, that was the first, it was like my world was expanding rapidly. Back in high school, I mean, I didn't start like really processing there being like gay people. Like, and that's weird to talk about. That's weird to say. Like, because like in high school, I wasn't around it a lot. There wasn't a lot of like gay couples in our class.
Yeah.
That we knew about. But yeah, it was something that was never really a part of my world. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until like my senior year where it was like, okay, yeah, this is a thing. Mm-hmm. Had no problem with it. And then when Kaiden came out to me as trans, it was like, this is a whole new thing that I've never even like really thought about before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I can't really like, it's not really a first experience. I was on like a field trip, like my 7th grade year, and I saw a cross-dresser, who probably, now that I think about it, like might have been a transgender female. It was just something that like when you're young and you're told about like cross-dressers and stuff, that's all that came to my mind. Mm-hmm. That was like my first experience with it, and I saw this person with like hairy legs and a skirt and everything and bright pink hair. And because I was a sheltered little Christian boy, I was like, what is this? What's going on? You know? So, that was my first real exposure, but I don't think it was anything I understood at all. It wasn't until Kaiden told me and started explaining it to me. I would like to say that I was really open-minded about it from the start.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I was the first person you told that wasn't, like, that was, like, around you, like, a lot. Like, your circle of friends and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that comment about you, like, telling the people you're closest to is the hardest, because that's, like, you're afraid of losing something, it made me think, oh, I was the first one you told. Does that mean our friendship was, like, one that was okay, worth losing? I'm just kidding. I knew. We talked beforehand about a lot of stuff and how open-minded I was about a lot of things. So you told me that you knew that I would not have had like a problem with it because I was really accepting about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's also like one of the people I talk to the most, and I was like going through it, like figuring myself out. I was having a tough time, so that's just like something that he could sense.
Yep. And I'm glad I was there. I was when you told me, I was like one of the first people you told. I was like so happy that like I had that I was one of the first people you told about it. And after that, it was only just my world kept like expanding rapidly. My mind just opened up more and more and more about things, and like you helped through you coming out, it helped expand my line of vision, like how much I saw. That's how I look at it for me, and I'm super appreciative of it, and I'm super happy it happened because you're happier now.
Yeah.
And I'd say we're both happier than 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
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 Which is a good thing. You've like I'm so like honored and happy that I've been with you from the start of like your transition to now.
Cute.
Because like it's helped me grow as a person too. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, something that, I don't know who, someone in my family, I mean, multiple times I said, like, yes, it's like, I'm transforming and changing and, like, going through this change, but everyone else around me is in it too, and, like, they're also changing with it and, like, growing.
Kaylee.
Yeah.
You met Kaiden a little later.
Yeah.
About a year ago.
Yeah. And so when you were introduced to Kaiden,
yeah,
it was with masculine pronouns.
Yes.
Male pronouns. And I would say like earlier on you identified as transgender rather than trans masculine, which you're at now. When did you like when did it kind of click that you're like, oh, this makes more sense?
I mean, I was always kind of iffy with transgender just because, like, it was definitely more comfortable than, you know, like,
cisgender.
female, she, her pronouns, but, like, it's still fine, but, like, I don't know, just figuring out that I'm more neutral than anything was just, I mean, more comfortable for me, and, yeah, I don't know when that was that I've, you know, figured things out, but trial and error. And also, like, coming out as transgender is easier than coming out as transmasculine, you know. More people are, I don't know, transmasculine is less known.
Yeah. So you'll say that when you're like, I'm transmasculine, you'll have someone be like, is that like transgender? Yeah. Like that's what they'll ask.
Yeah.
So and now you've had to go through a transition from using a lot of male pronouns with Kaiden, right, Kaylee? You've gotten way better about it. Like when you text me now, that's easier texting, like to use the right pronouns. Like you're one of the only ones that I've talked to that's really made like a huge effort to, well, you're around Kaiden the most too, out of everyone else, out of our friend group, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I used neutral pronouns from the start.
Yeah.
So maybe I knew from the start. No,
your intuition.
It was my intuition. No, yeah, I mean, it made sense to me when Kaiden came out that it didn't. So when you first came out, for me, it was. I definitely asked the question. I was like, I don't know if Kaiden is transgender, like full transgender, because I never saw you to fully identify yourself as the opposite gender, to associate yourself and want to be a man. That's what was like, that doesn't make a ton of sense just because of who you are. You've always been super like neutral about things. it just felt way more natural for me to use neutral pronouns. And it just like starting out, it was like everyone else was beating themselves up to like use he, him. It was like, oh, I keep messing up so hard, and I'm like, I use they, them. It's real easy. Like for me, it's super easy, and it makes sense. It just clicks for me. And like telling my parents, like Kaiden comes over all the time, and my parents love having Kaiden over, and I'd like to say that we've been a really good, like, safe place and support for Kaiden during their transition. And, like, my parents, like, yeah, they'd slip up from time to time, but that's because they don't talk nearly as much as me and Kaiden do. Like, I can't tell you how many hours we probably talk, but, like, through texting and stuff, it's fine. That's whatever. But, yeah, if my mom was texting Kaiden every single day, then my mom would, without a single problem, like, use neutral pronouns. It's just exposure.
I would say that your parents are good about it. Like, I mean, before I came out, I mean, from what I know, like, they didn't really have anyone to use they, them on or anything. So, like, yeah, they slipped up a couple of times, but, like, that's expected. And, you know,
you can see the effort they're putting in, that they're really trying.
Well, they also, my parents met Kaiden, like, before they came out.
Yeah.
So they already had that. They knew that. Like, if they... and my mom has said, so has my dad. I think my dad said it first. And he was like, if we would have met Kaiden after they, like, came out and started transitioning, it would have been way easier. It's just how... Yeah. Like, that's why, you know, it was so easy. Like, when you made new friends, like, with
like,
Kaylee.
that's all they know you by.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of, this leads into my next kind of idea. I've entertained the idea, and it's something that will probably never happen because of the society we live in. The extreme end of it is I wish we were all genderless aliens, without genitalia, and we. Hold on, and we got pleasure through, like, we had like these, like, special sensors on our fingertips, and, like, you would just hold your spouse's or partner's head, and you just, like, get, like, that's how you would get your stimulation with one another. That's how you would connect with another person.
Yeah, pee out of the belly button.
This is a real 3 a.m.
Pee out of your belly button. Yeah. That's the far extreme of it. That will never ever happen. The other part is, I think we should, like my dad's always said, there needs to be neutral terms rather than using the plural terms. And I said, okay, I get why someone who is older thinks that. But the way I see it is, I think plural terms are actually kind of, they're appropriate. Because that person is not identifying as one thing. It doesn't mean they're identifying as both genders. Some people do. Their gender, it doesn't matter. It's not like they're identifying as multiple beings, you know? It's just, they are who they are.
Yeah.
I think people say that more often than they say they are who they are, rather than he is who he is, or she is who she is. I mean, people use both, but I've heard they are who they are quite a bit. And I don't care what anyone says. I've absolutely heard and used and read they and them and theirs as singular terms. They can be, and that's like, say what you want, like, okay, classic literature fucks, whatever, I don't care. It's, you can have any grammatical issues you want with it, but the way that my brain processes it, I have no problem using they and them. It makes sense to me. I like it. I mean, I honestly would not be opposed to people using they and them to, like, use for me. But I don't have a problem with he and him either, so it doesn't matter. But in a perfect world, in the next 50 years, if we're not all dead, it would be really cool if it was a societal thing to where you would address someone or use neutral terms, neutral pronouns for everyone until you got to know that person, until you got to know that person on a more personal level. Because if you're like going to a doctor's appointment or something and you're like, yes, I'm here to see Dr. So-and-so, if someone says, okay, yes, they'll be with you in just a minute, I would not have a problem with that. And then you get to meet your doctor, you find out what they would either address you to be like, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. It doesn't have to be anything super like formal or anything. Just like, I identify as male, he, him's fine. And be like, all right, cool. And they probably start out the conversation like if you're going to a new doctor, they'd want to know what you identify as anyways. So they'd ask you that, and then you'd give them yours, and then it's just like, it would become like an introductory thing. When you're a kid, when you'd be a kid, you'd be in class and everything, other kids, like being, you, like before you meet other kids, calling someone they, them is harmless until you get to meet that person, and then like go home and be like, oh mommy, like Malachi or whatever fucking names will, like, I know that's already a name and it's a Bible name too, but who names their kid Malachi? Like Forest, because all the forests will be dead. We'll name our kids after things we don't have anymore. I just, me and Toys R Us were talking, and he's really cool. You know?
First name Toys, middle R.
Yeah.
Last us.
Yeah, exactly.
Rest in peace.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I would think it would be a harmless thing. It's just that the like older generations are so fucking stubborn about so many things. We just need to fucking let it go. Just loosen our grip a little bit. Take a breather. It does not matter that much. And if I'm going to say this now. I get the biological argument. People are born with certain genetics and certain chromosomes and certain like, I get it. All right. I know the science behind it. I know there's an XY chromosome and there's a XX chromosome. If someone's born with female genitalia, sure, go ahead and when they're born, put on their certificate gender female or gender male. You could even put gender masculine or gender feminine for, like, that would be fine too. That would probably be better. But like, that's something biological that we can go off of. If you don't give an identity to someone from the like very start, then they're gonna have a huge crisis on their hands. Like, the kids that are like the gender X, like, they're not old enough yet to figure it all out. They're gonna be coming home and they're like, mommy, am I a boy or am I a girl? And they'll be like, that's for you to figure out. And they'll have no idea. They'll be like, what? All you have to go off of is what you have physically. I do not think that someone truly has themselves figured out until they're older. Until they're truly old enough to be like, with clarity, be like, okay, this is what I am. If I ever have kids, I'll say that. If I ever have kids, if my kid comes up to me and he's like 12 and he's like, Dad, I've been thinking about it. I think I'm more feminine than I am masculine. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then I'd have a talk with them, be like, do you want to go by feminine pronouns then? And like, what do you want to do? And like, all this stuff, to really have a conversation with my kid, rather than be like, these are the gender norms and stereotypes that you have to live in a box by. Talking about limiters is a whole nother subject for me. I don't think anyone should be limited to one thing. And I think biological gender stereotypes is something that is limiting so many people. It's keeping women from pursuing certain careers. It's keeping men from being more open with themselves and more emotionally in tune with their selves. It's keeping people in the LGBTQ community from feeling like they belong. If we didn't have these gender stereotypes and these boxes that we put people in, we wouldn't have so many of these problems, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. You can shake your head, but they can't hear you.
I'm just validating your opinion. Be like, yeah.
Thanks. Would either of you like to share or add anything to what I've just poured out?
I mean, I agree. I think gender norms are just, I mean, for the most part, can be pretty harmful to, I mean, anyone. I think putting that on someone, it's just hard.
Yeah.
You don't know.
No.
You know?
Someone looks at me and they see a dude with a beard and they're gonna be like, they have so many, just because of what my appearance is, for what gender my appearance portrays. People are going to have immediate prejudices against me and like opinions about me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're gonna like jump the gun on so many things and be like, oh, he's probably this, without ever talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've met a lot of people that are really good about it, but I remember one time, it was after I had an audition for a play. Like, someone like came up to my car and they were friends with another friend of mine who was at the audition. I didn't know who they were. And like we're talking and everything, and then somehow it came up and they were like, oh, I thought you were gay. And I was like, what? Why? And they're like, if I was gay, it would have come up in conversation, or like, why would you just assume that, you know? And they were like, oh, you dress really nice. You the way you carry yourself, it's like you're very confident. And I'm like, okay.
Taking care of yourself is gay.
Taking care of, like, I know some gay guys that are pretty sloppy. And I know straight guys that are absolutely gross. And it's all over the place. You can't have those stereotypes because they're so toxic. It's like, just because I take care of myself, I'm more in tune with my emotions. Like, it doesn't make me one thing or another.
That's one thing where I think men have it really, really hard, is that if they are in tune with their emotions at all, people think they're gay. If they take care of themselves, people think they're gay. If they show their friends any affection in front of people, people assume they're gay. Like, they have so much less wiggle room than I think women do. Because women I feel like they can, like, explore their sexuality, and a lot of people aren't as harsh on it. But if a man does, then they're immediately gay. They're not experimenting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just not fair.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, as soon as you kiss a guy, that's it, you're gay. It's not like, okay, but it's so rough. Because, like, my mom, like, has talked about it, too. It's like, totally, like, to her, she's like definitely noticed how, like, girls can, like, fool around and kiss each other, and it's fine. It's just girls just fooling around or whatever. It doesn't make them gay. But if a guy did it, that's it.
Yeah.
He's gay. And for my mom, who was born in the late 1960s, to, like, understand that and see that, it's like, okay, yeah, it's something that is a big enough, like, problem for my mom to see, who is someone that was also raised in the South. So, and my mom, by no means, like, when I say raised in the South, like, people are like, oh, she must be really racist, just because I say that. You know, my mom's from Georgia. Oh, wow, she must be really racist. Let me give a little backstory about my mom. She grew up in a super poor household. So poor. Even back then, like, if you were white, you weren't friends with black people. That's harsh, right?
Yeah.
But no, that was the 1970s in the South still. You know, people don't realize that. But my mom's dad's best friend was a black man. And so my mom would hang out with her dad's best friend's kids and everything. And then my mom would get picked on about it, like, for it. How awful is that? And, like, those were my mom didn't see a problem with it. It's like, when you're raised that way, you see things differently. And my mom grew up poor. To her, people were people. If someone was kind to you, that was it. They're a kind person. If someone's mean to you, it doesn't matter what they look like or who they are. They're not a nice person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, I grew up... One thing I will say, I never saw color. Like, this is one thing I really stand by. I never saw color until someone said it was there. When I was a kid, I played with people. I was friends with people. It wasn't until, like, I don't know when it happened, but someone said, this person is different for this reason. And it was the only time it ever stood out. And that's, like, our whole society. On everything. It's how it is on, like, ethnicity. It's how it is on sexuality. It's how it is on gender. It's so many things. And the way we're living right now, like, we have a super, like, good group that, like, we're all super accepting of one another. We're all completely different people. We're all unique in, like, the way we, like, identify ourselves or the opinions that we have. I in no way feel like I'm in an echo chamber, which is great, because if I was, I wouldn't be getting anywhere with the way I think about things, you know?
Yeah.
Which is great. So to know that everywhere else is having to, like, there's so many people that are having to deal with all this, like, injustice and all of this harsh judgment. It's baffling and it sucks. And another thing I believe is all that I can do as an individual to help with that is just to keep on being the person I am and to keep finding more people that are like me. Because the more of us there are, the stronger we'll get. And we're always going to see the most negative side of society. Mm-hmm. That's all that's shown. But that's all that people want to see too. Mm-hmm. But I would say our generation's one we're just, like, tired of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any closing thoughts?
I would say just, like, be unapologetically you and find the people that you like and find out what you like and just roll with it.
Yeah, that's good.
I would also say, you know, also find the people that let you be you.
Yeah.
That's a big part. I think that's super important. Guys, that's episode 2! Nice. How about that? Or maybe 3. I don't know. It depends on what next one... it depends on what happens. But that's episode 2, guys. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope to have you guys back on another one.
Sure.
Yeah. Sick. And if you guys like these two, they're 2 of my closest friends. So I can have them on whenever I want because I'll force them to. Oh. Yeah, it'll be good. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope to be putting out more and more. Let me know if there's any topics you would like to have us discuss on the show, and I'll try and get to them.